running here.
Updating YouTube settings, and within 3 seconds, that's okay. We are live on YouTube.
Yep.
Welcome, everybody, to the At the Net Talk Show. We're going to have a fantastic show tonight with a great guest. Craig Bell, take it away with the intro.
All right. James Scott Campbell, right? Let's get this rolling.
Hello, you are At the Net. And welcome, friends, to another episode of the At the Net podcast, powered by Tex-Mex Productions. Working the soundboards in the back of the house are our producers, D-Mac and Dave the Brain. Time to say hello to your hosts, Craig Bell and AJ Shabria, as they're about to take us through 3 sets of tennis, talking life and all the news as it seems to them. Ladies and gentlemen, Craig Bell.
All right. Thanks to our At the Net podcast girl. As always, that is the Margot Carter introduction, right? That's Rippa.
It was the word of the day is Rippa.
Rippa.
Love it.
Not Ripper, Rippa. Rippa. There's no R.
It's a non-rhotic people and like Bostonians.
Yes.
Like New Yorkers and, of course, Australians. And our guest today from Oz. Looking forward to speaking with Tom Downs.
Yeah, so we had a Margot Carter, who's an British person, reading the intro for an Australian tennis professional.
Love it.
But it was a Rippa introduction, and welcome fans of the great game. You're listening to Season 1, Episode 101. We're turning over a new page, turning over another 100. Just kind of like setting the clock back. We're moving forward, though, with 101 episodes of At the Net Podcast. With, on my left, that would be AJ Chabria, a.k.a. AJC.
That's right. And next to me, Craig Bell. Sometimes we call him CB1 because there's other CBs in the house, like your wife, your son.
That's right. Several CBs out there. Right. We're talking the great game of tennis as it seems to us. Also, thanks go out to our good amigos at Tex-Mex Productions. That would be one Darian D. Mac McBrayer and Dave the Brain DeLeo from back of the house. We haven't seen a brain sighting tonight. I actually got on fairly easy this evening, so hopefully it doesn't.
You're getting good at producing.
Crash.
Yeah,
you're
good.
We didn't need the brain as much tonight, but. Brain is around, and we might have to catch him from time to time, but he helps us move the dials and buttons to make us look and sound like real people, right? We're not Memorex.
That we are.
We're not holograms either, are we?
That's right.
All right, okay.
We're not AI.
We're not?
Yet.
Oh, are we woke enough to be AI?
I think so.
Okay. Also, be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Well, they're over on YouTube tonight, so they're having to watch us on YouTube. But we're going to be back on Facebook. We're coming back. We're going to be bigger and better than ever on Facebook, right?
Like it.
All right, check out our good work on. Are you ready? Here it is. Fireside, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, CastBox, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Spotify. That's really good, isn't it? I did it really well.
All the platforms that the kids like.
Yep, and if you're a female and would like to read the opening intro like the Rippa Margot Carter, let us know because we always like to have new intros, right? Even a female voice, so or a foreign language. Well, that was a female. Right. We have enough guys around here. So
plenty of dudes.
But speaking of Rippa, our guest this evening is one man from down under. Is he the man from Snowy River? Are you from Snowy River?
Oblique reference to a Western.
That's right.
That Tom got. I love it.
Right. So, Tom Downs, welcome to At the Net Podcast. How you doing there, Tom?
Doing good. Thank you so much, Craig. Thanks, AJ. It's good to be here.
Thanks, mate.
We are definitely glad to have you aboard with us on At the Net Podcast. We know that you just moved to the North Texas area. You've been in the U.S. How many years now have you been in the U.S. probably?
I came over here in January 2002, so it's close to 20 years.
You're an American now. I bet you all the people back home, do they think that you're Americanized with your accent? Do they go, hey, how'd you lose your accent?
I think they're pretty surprised I've still kept my accent, and they're pretty shocked it's still as strong as it is. I mean, I know plenty of Aussies who have spent time in Oklahoma and Texas, and they're pretty much both accents of theirs a history. So I'm pretty lucky to have kept mine, I think. So
good.
Can you say y'all yet? That you've been.
Oh no, mate, I can't say y'all or any of that.
Y'all come back now here? You hadn't heard that one, huh? Well, we're glad to have you on, like I said, At the Net Podcast. Originally from Brisbane, Australia, right? Over there around the.
I was actually born in Tasmania. I was born in Tasmania, and I moved to Brisbane at age 12, and played most of my junior tennis in Brisbane. Obviously, went to all the national tournaments as a junior, which were in Sydney, Melbourne, Perth, most of the biggest cities in Australia. So.
Yeah, it's pretty nice weather down there. I've been down to Australia a few times, and I think up by the Brisbane area, that's really kind of like a San Diego type area.
Yeah, tropical or subtropical.
Yeah, it's very tropical, exactly.
Yeah. It doesn't ever snow, I don't think, does it? Does it get below?
No, we don't get snow there. It doesn't really get cold. I mean, it's more like Florida in terms of the weather. The winters are pleasant. Obviously, in the southeast parts of Australia, we do get snow, but it doesn't get as cold as Oklahoma and Dallas and places like that, fortunately. But
I see. Even Tasmania, it's so far south. I thought
it's cold.
Yeah. I figured it would get cold, but not as extreme as here.
What's it get? 10?
No.
Maybe? Does it get 10 in Brisbane area? Will it get 10 on the Celsius? I'm being
metric system.
I'm thinking right there. I know 61 and 16 are the same. So 61
right.
Fahrenheit, 16 on the Celsius. Does it get 10? I mean, that would be in the 40s maybe.
Yeah, it does in Tasmania. During the winter time, we definitely do have some cold mornings and all that. So, yeah, I've had my share of, 40-degree Fahrenheit as well as 40 degrees Celsius. So,
yeah,
seen a good share of both.
Yes, it does get a little warmish down there. I frequented the Australian Open a couple of times, and whew, man, I was watching Roger Federer from I think that would be Laver Arena, and the only reason that I sat there in the sun, I was on that west side that gets a lot of sun, and it was Roger Federer, and it was like 105, and right there, just boiling on me. I'd lasted an hour, and I said, "That's it," because that.
Yeah, it's tough to. I mean, it's really tough being a coach there, watching matches. I mean, when it's hot, it's brutal.
Well, and then after that, I think the next day was like 75. I mean, it went from 105 to 75. I mean, it's like, what happened? I mean, you don't see that many extremes around this area. I mean, it'll stay fairly warm for a little bit, and then it'll drop. But I couldn't believe how extreme that was. I mean, literally, it was about 105 one day, and it was probably 75 the next day. It was really nice, and not that I really liked Melbourne. I thought it was really pretty in the south part of Australia, there on the coast. But man, that was a really fluctuating. 40 degrees for Americans. I was like, good grief, or 30. It's gonna be 30 degrees. That's a huge swing right there from day to day.
Cool. But sure is.
Yeah, Tom, what got you into the great game? Just real quick. We'll start off with set one.
Well, I actually come from an Australian rules football background. Both my dad and my uncle played Australian rules football at a very high caliber, and I grew up playing cricket and all that, and I just got sick of playing Aussie rules football and cricket. There was just so much of that happening, and I said, you know what, I'm going to try tennis. And I was 8 years old at the time, and from the minute I tried it, I was hooked. So it was a good decision I made to try it.
Had you already moved from Tasmania up to Brisbane, or was that still down in Tasmania?
No, I was actually in Tasmania at that time, and like in Tasmania, it's pretty much an Aussie rules football and cricket mad state. I mean, they're crazy about those two sports there, and I just got tired of both of them and decided to give tennis a go. And I was actually on a Friday morning at elementary school, I got the opportunity to be a part of a group that was coached by a legendary Tasmanian coach called David Carswell, and Carswell developed a Tasmanian called Simon Ewell. He eventually became a top 100 player. So my dad said, look, if you want to be a good tennis player, you're going to go to David Carswell because he knows what it takes to develop good tennis players. So, and he coached with that Aussie spirit. He was passionate. He made it fun. He made me work hard. He taught me about hard work. He was great in all areas of tennis. He was actually coached by Harry Hopman at one point, and he was a great tennis player himself. So
yeah, I definitely remember Simon Ewell was about my age. Also, Mark Kratzman. Those two came up together. Simon, of course, was from way south, Hobart, I guess, right?
He was close to Hobart, yeah. And there's obviously the best Tasmanian of them all is Richard Fromberg. So
Fromberg, big man.
He's the pick of them.
Yeah. Another guy roughly my age, and came of age in the 90s and had a few great wins. Yeah, Fromberg. Davis Cup, too. You mentioned Aussie spirit. I know, I believe it's written in your background, and I'm such a believer in this, too, is one of the finest ways to foster the great play, whether it's females or male players, is to really get to know your player. What are some ways that you felt that from Carswell, and how have you used that with so many players that you've hit with, developed, and coached over the past couple of decades?
You know, he always asked a lot of questions, and he listened. You know, he made an effort to understand how players think. I mean, he understood that different people think in different ways. He always tried to work out what type of a learner a kid was. And, he always tried to get to know the player as quickly as possible, because obviously in coaching, we have to get to know our player or we just waste, so much time potentially. And he just had a way to get through to kids and connect with kids, and he was a great people's person himself, and he just a great communicator, and he always made it fun, but he made us work hard, and he and he always tried to become a better coach. And whether he was coaching us or Andrew Painter, who also works in Dallas now as a realtor, he just knew how to coach. I mean, he just loves tennis just like we do, and he just always tried to get better.
Fantastic, Tom. Let's stick with the first set and talk a little bit about your background as a player. You are a nationally ranked Australian player. Did you travel internationally before you came to the States to play in college, or did you mostly stay on the big island?
The most international I got was I actually went to New Zealand for a couple of ITF junior tournaments back in the day. So that's as bad as international as I got. I was a top 20 Australian junior. I won the national championships in the under-16s in Tasmania. I was ranked as high as number 1 in the state of Queensland, but my age group had some very good juniors in the 16s especially. They actually won the Junior Davis Cup. There was a guy called Todd Reed, who unfortunately, had some, unfortunately he's no longer with us anymore. There were a couple of other outstanding juniors that got to 150 in the world, and they were great juniors in Australia. And so I was a fair bit behind those guys, but I was a top 20 junior, and I was intrigued by the possibility of coming to the States on a tennis scholarship. I didn't think I was good enough to be a professional player. Didn't really have the mindset of a champion back then. I didn't believe enough, probably didn't work hard enough. But I love the game, and I thought that, I can go to college in America and get the best of both worlds.
Let's key in on belief and hard work, which you say you didn't have that as a young player.
Yeah.
You've clearly instilled that in yourself and all your players in the past couple decades since you played in college.
Yeah.
Here. But before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about college tennis here in the States. What was it like, and was that South Carolina State, was it?
I went to South Carolina State, so yeah, I actually just imagine that. I mean, I got off the plane coming over here from Brisbane, Australia, and I went straight to South Carolina. And the thing about America is that every state is so different. You've got the different sections of the country, and it might as well be different countries that are all a part of this one country. I mean, it's just amazing how different it really is. And, South Carolina was a bit of a shock to the system. It was so laid back. It was cold in, the November, December, January, February timeframe. But I mean, I think the thing about college tennis is it's one of the most competitive things that I've ever seen. You've got guys coming over from all different countries. They all fight for scholarships. They all compete extremely hard. It's a fully international system.
Yeah.
And it was the most intense tennis I've played, but I loved it. I love being a part of a team and loved working hard during college. And, that was...
That's great. Well,
did you learn to like vinegar barbecue? That vinegar-based barbecue from the Carolinas, or you more?
I actually did. Yeah, it became a favourite of mine. So I'd go every couple of weeks and get good barbecue. And I wouldn't say that I became a true Southerner by any means, but I did adapt more as time went on. So it was all good.
That's great. I know University of South Carolina is over in Columbia. Where is South Carolina State?
We're in a smaller town called Orangeburg, just a small town. It's probably 45 minutes away from Charleston, which to this day is a favourite place of mine. I love taking place to the Volvo Cup Open and the old Family Circle Cup. It's in Orangeburg, South Carolina. We played mostly the smaller Division I schools in both the Carolinas.
Right.
We would play the University of South Carolina and Clemson and, schools like that.
So you
usually
played...
for us, we'd win the conference tournament and then have to play Duke or North Carolina first round of the NCAA.
Right,
so that was
That's right.
always a good experience, but a bit of a beating as well. So
yeah.
That would be the Bulldogs by
South Carolina State Bulldogs.
The Bulldogs.
South Carolina State, the Bulldogs. Actually, one of the funniest things that happened was we won our first conference championship ever, and the local news came to our courts from Orangeburg, and they were just intrigued that all of us were foreign, and they said, "We want you guys to, give us a woof woof, as loud as you can." So we had all these different guys, trying to, bark like bulldogs, and it was hilarious. I mean, we had guys from Zimbabwe and Czech Republic doing it, and Brazil, and me being from Australia, and it's quite the show. And it was presented the following day on the news, and the news reporters were just laughing their butts off. I mean, it was funny.
Listening to the word woof in 8 different accents, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah. Well, what did you do after college? And I assume this is about early 2000s, is that right?
Yeah, well, I graduated in 2005.
Oh, 5.
With a degree in mass communications. And during my junior and senior years of college, I got the opportunity to do like a summer internship at Saddlebrook. And, obviously that place was intriguing because of the Harry Hopman Tennis Academy and just the whole Aussie, background, and Hopman, just being a legendary coach and tennis speaker both in Australia and here and pretty much across the world. And, to this day, I still think Hopman's a big name in tennis. It really is. And, I just went there and I got the best of both worlds. I mean, I got to train, to obviously play for my incoming years of college, and I got to be a sparring partner for players like Justine Hanna and Martina Hingis and Christina Brandy. And it was actually, at that time, Saddlebrook was the official resort of the WTA tour. So just the amount of WTA players there at any one time was just incredible. I mean, I think at one point we had 15 of the world's top 40 players. So it was just an opportunity hotbed. And, I got to work with players of all abilities, and I just love coaching and love being around a proper, tennis place, and worked 12-hour days, but loved it. So
that's tremendous. Your list of players you worked with is like a who's who. You mentioned one of my favorites, Justine Henin-Ardenne, but also Elena Demencheva, the Russian, Shahar Peer, Vera Dushevina, Naomi Osaka, who is clearly one of the biggest names in tennis these days. Of course, Carly Gullickson, whose dad was a baseball player. Monica Puig, the gold medalist from Puerto Rico. Love her. Ali Kick, right?
Ali Kick.
Yeah. Did she have a serve that lived up to her last name? She
didn't, but she was a great athlete, which is obviously just like her father was in the NFL for the 1972. He played for the 1972 Dolphins, and he's a great athlete, and so is she. So, yeah.
Well, the list goes on all the way down to Julie Diddy, probably one of the big famous ones, Laura Granville, who played at Stanford. Is that right?
Yep, she played for Stanford.
And,
she's now coach of Princeton. So.
Princeton, yeah. And, of course, another huge name on here, Sophia Kenin. When she was 10, you worked with her. She has won the Australian Open and been to a French Open final. The kid's amazing. When she was 10, was she Sophia Kenin or Sonia Kenin?
Either one. I actually asked Alex Kenin, her dad, once. I said, Alex, should I call her Sonia or Sophia? And he goes, doesn't matter, Tom. I said, okay, I'll call her Sonia. So I always call her Sonia.
That's great. What did you instill in her that might have led to having the type of game she has now? And
at age 10 and before she came to me, she'd already been to Rick Macy and guys like that just did a phenomenal job, in terms of the fundamentals and all that. But you could just tell that she was such a driven kid. I mean, she wanted to be on the court. She always wanted to get better. She wanted information. She was 10, but she didn't want somebody to coddle her. I mean, she wanted the truth. And, she was hardworking. She was respectful. She took things on quickly. She asked good questions. I wouldn't say, to be honest, I did anything special to help her. I mean, she worked hard. I made her work hard. We spent a ton of time on her serve and her volleys and things like that. She's always had an incredible drop shot and unbelievable hands and great court sense and all that.
Did you teach her?
She was great to have on court, and I loved it. So.
Did you teach her that service motion? That's one of the most interesting motions.
Where she looks up,
down,
looks down,
is over
the ball
her head,
goes, then she looks up.
Right.
Actually, to be fair, it has changed a lot, across the years.
Sure.
Back when she was 10, it was always wouldn't say funky motion. It was an interesting kind of emotion, but she never missed first serves. It was like she could just hit these spots. It was just incredible. She could just hit these spots time and time again, but you looked at the motion and, it was, it worked for her, and I tried to make it better, and we did some things to, help her, but she's had obviously some different coaches across the years and some different voices. Obviously, the one constant voice has been her dad,
Alex.
And I think he's a great manager and he's a great guy. But I think probably one of the better things he did for her was he always ran the show. He didn't give her a say in her tennis and who her coaches were or anything like that. He sort of made the decisions, and she knew who the boss was. And I think, part of the problem in today's world is the kids are given, so much control and say and all of that. And but that was not the case for Sonia.
Interesting. Did you sense at that time that there was something special about this kid up here, not just in the strokes?
Yeah, I sort of think, and both you guys are great coaches as well. So we can always see when a kid has something special. Sometimes we might not even be able to explain it, but in Sonia's case, I think, just the incredible court sense, the incredible hands, the ability to want to get better. And it was just programmed in Sonia from a young age that she was going to be a superstar. And, she never lost sight of a bigger picture. I coached girls, who played Sonia all the way through. I coached her at age 10, but pretty much, from the age of 10 until now. I've coached girls who've played her. I've coached girls who've played dubs with Sonia. She's joined tons of our practice sessions, and she has always been the same Sonia in terms of the drive, the focus, the dedication, the discipline, the attention to details. All those things that we want in a player, she brings all those to every session. It's just incredible to watch it. And, it's
Tom, good stuff, mate. As we wind down the first set, I noticed you've not just worked for the Hopman organization. I know a lot of the people that are just a bit older than me, like Chris Lewis from New Zealand, Bob Brett, who's one of my favorite or most influential coaches in my mind. That guy has mentored temperamental thoroughbreds like Goran Ivanisevic, Marin Cilic, Boris Becker. One of the most notable, So I, of course, love that. Pre-show, we talked a little bit about Carlos Rodriguez, but I would like to ask you, what was the influence you felt from the great Harold Solomon, who was top 10 in the world when I was a little kid falling in love with tennis at age I was 7, It
was actually interesting because I was traveling on the WTA Tour in 2006. I was with Renee Stubbs, the doubles player from Australia.
Stubbsy, right?
Actually bumped into Harold. He was coaching Daniela Hantakova at that time. And, we got talking. We got to know each other pretty well. And he said, look, I'm actually, starting a small tennis academy in South Florida. And, I'd love to have you come over and be a part of it, or at least we can talk some more in the near future about it. And I thought to myself, boy, that sounds good. And in 2007, I actually went to Pittsburgh just to work at a friend's club, just to try something a little bit different and just to get a club taste of coaching at a young age. And I think in the early part of 2007, I actually got a phone call from Harold, and I thought, oh, this is great. So I called him back straight away, and he said, look, we'd love for you to come down. I said, well, I'm coming down in a couple of weeks to work some with Stubbsy and Sam Stosur. I was actually going to Tampa to train both of them before they were going to Europe. And both of them had places at Harbour Island in Tampa. So I was going there to train them both. And he said, well, as soon as you're done there, if you want to swing over to the Lauderdale Tennis Club and talk to us a little bit about maybe joining our stuff, in the near future. And I thought, you're damn right, I'm going to come over and do that. That does sound good. And, it obviously turned out to be the best decision I made in tennis and just a total life changer. And, Harold's he changed my life, really. To this day, he's a great friend. He's been a terrific mentor. He's been like a father away from home to some extent. And, he gave me so many opportunities. Dementieva, Shahar Peer, Vera Dushavina. We developed alley kick together pretty much. Laura Granville, Carly Gullickson. Basically, most of the players on the list that you read out earlier, I got to work with through that academy. And, he made me earn it. I mean, he was tough on me. I remember once I was at a junior tournament, actually, and he called me up and he said, I don't think you really want to coach. I said, what are you talking about? I mean, I was actually a bit taken aback by it. He said, no, I just don't think you really want to do it. I said, what do you mean? He goes, look, I want you to be in super shape as a coach. I want you to start hitting thousands of balls a day. So every morning for the next 2 weeks, you and I are going to get here at 6:30 in the morning and we're going to hit a couple of thousand balls. And we are going to work, and Dementieva's coming in a couple of weeks. And if you can, get your game together and get your act together as a coach, I'm going to give you some opportunities. And I did that. And, from that day on, I mean, he was outstanding. I mean, I proved myself. And, boy, he made us work hard. But, he had high standards for coaches and still does. And, it was a life changer. So.
When you and Harold Solomon hit thousands of balls in the mornings, was he like he was in the 70s and 80s, just never missing a ball?
That was exactly it. He never missed a ball. I mean, I remember there were times when he used to tell me stories about when he coached Mary Jo Fernandez in the early to mid 1990s. I'd heard the stories from other coaches before going there about how they'd hit 1,000 balls. And I said, look, was that 1,000 balls that you hit with Mary Jo, was that a whole session? And he looked at me and he goes, no, it was 500 balls each, and that was just the warm-up.
Wow.
And I said, and what happened if someone missed? He goes, well, it's 1,000 balls in a row, so if someone missed, we started again. And occasionally, he goes, she did miss in the 900s or the 700s, and we'd start the whole thing again.
Wow.
1,000?
And I thought to myself, there was just no excuses there because he worked so hard himself on court. I mean, he'd hit and coach at the same time, and that's what he expects other coaches to do. And it was an eye-opener because, at most academies, we have 4 kids on a court and the coach, feeds the balls and coaches, but it's the kids that are doing the hitting. And that's not the case at that academy. It was 2 kids for one coach, and the coach always had the hit. It was just an expectation. So
tremendous.
It was good, but tough.
Quick transition into our second set. Second set, we get to talk about current projects and future projects. I do want to have a kind of a gradual bridge between first and second, because I want to ask about, you have worked with Naomi Osaka. You've also worked with Sammy Stosur. I believe Naomi's first big win was against Sammy Stosur. Whose corner were you in at that moment, and what was that match like?
I was in the Osaka corner at that time. I actually wasn't at that match, but during 2016, for about 8 months, we had both the Osaka sisters there. We had Naomi, obviously, who's become a great, champion of our sport. And we had her older sister, who I think was probably ranked in the 400s. But both were great people. They both still are great people, obviously. And Naomi was... all champions and all successful people are a little bit different than the rest of us. I think, they all have something special about them. And believe it or not, the hard thing we had with her was we actually had to get her to hit the ball. She was used to just making balls and would just kind of hit a steady kind of a semi-hit, type of ball. And we're like, well, you've got to load and unload, and you have to accelerate, and you have to be able to physically dominate the other person. You've got to hit the ball. And she worked hard. She sort of kept to herself. She wasn't much of a talker, but once she got to know you, she did open up a bit more. But yeah, she was, she worked really, really hard. Yeah, she beat Sam Stosur, and I actually said to her after I was on, I remember it well. I was on court 4, which is a clay court at Harold's Academy. And I said, so, congrats on your biggest win yet. There's plenty more to come. And she's like, no, Tom, it's not my biggest win. My biggest win's my first win over my older sister.
Oh, yes.
I said, all right.
That's some shades of the Serena Venus dynamic, too.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. Hey, last one before we really talk about current and future projects. I want to ask you about the serve. And how you've worked with somebody like Sam Stosur, who has an elite serve, and then some of the others who probably had to develop that. How important is that to you in your practice? And what do you do to develop somebody with a truly massive weapon as a serve, like Naomi has, like Sammy Stosur?
Well, I think it's the most. I don't think the serve is practiced enough. Just in general. So every day for 30 minutes, we'd make sure we'd always hit serves. And that was with Stosur, Osaka, obviously Dementieva. We spent a bit more time there. But look, it's, we'd talk about, just having things like go-to serves and what types of serves they like to hit on bigger points. And obviously, somebody like Stosur is all about patterns of play. She's very much a rule follower, and when she's nervous and things like that, she likes to go to her patterns, and it was always the kick serve wide on the ad court and then the first ball forehand, or, the T kick serve on the deuce court and first ball forehand. So it was about using the kick serve to set the forehand up. I think the issue was the ones who beat her, quite a lot, like the Azarenkas, Sharapova and Serena, they were able to neutralise her weapons. So we had to work on different types of serves. And obviously, I'd set targets up and stuff like that. And we'd have to hit, I'd put targets up with squares around the targets. And we'd have to hit, 4 serves in a row inside the square to every target. And obviously I'd have 3 targets set up in each box. And, so we'd do different things like that. you know, I'm a big believer in putting players under pressure in practice.
Yes.
So, just basic things like, how many second serves for the quality can we make out of 10? And 9 out of 10's a pass, just different things like that. And, but obviously always a purpose to it. And with the bigger servers, I mean, the ones that had, the natural bigger serves like Stoser and Osaka, I mean, I never got too technical. I would just look for basics like, it's all about the rhythm. I'd make sure that things are in sync. I'd make sure they load the back leg and the toss is consistently in the right place. And, things like collapsing or rushing, I'd correct those things, but just very, very basic things.
Right. As coaches, as directors, as administrators, as personalities, we seek to be, even as broadcasters, we seek to be relentlessly positive. But I want to dig into the negative here for a moment. What did you have to work on with somebody like Dementieva, who's an elite mover, amazing forehand, regimented, perfect backhand, actually good at volleys and doubles even, but her serve was the clear thing that stuck out like a sore thumb as not elite. How did you approach that? How did you go? And don't be afraid to sort of tell the truth and tell us what she struggled with and how you were able to fix that.
Well, there were two things we thought she struggled with. One was obviously the serve, and the other was the nerves under pressure. And obviously there's only so much that can be done with nerves. But the serve was the big one for her, of course. And we just tried to get something simple and efficient. We used Dartfish a lot because obviously back then the iPhone apps and all that were not, in existence. So we used Dartfish and she would actually squat and couldn't come out of the squat. So she'd load her legs up and actually squat and couldn't come, out of that explosively, and just trying to give her a better throwing motion and, more consistent toss and just a simple motion that couldn't break down. And, we did have some success doing it. We tried a bunch of different ways to do it. Just get her to think of the right arm as a whip or a piece of spaghetti and just get her to really, just accelerate the whole arm. We basically tried to get her a quick, easy, natural kind of emotion for her. Just something very simple from point A to point B, and took a lot of practice. But the thing about it was she was always very, very open, and that's what stood out about her. She wanted feedback. She wanted to be coached. She's Russian and they can take it. Yeah. And, if we were positive or just cheerleaders, she'd be like, piss off, you guys are not coaches. So she wanted the truth about it. And she was like, look, Tom, you coach me hard. That's what she said to me. She says, look, when we go to tournaments, when we're on the practice court, when we come back to Harold's for training, you guys coach me hard. I want the truth. If my serve's off, if my forehand or backhand or whatever, we get to work on it straight away.
Nick, I thought you were the one that just said piss off all the time. Now all of a sudden I heard that somebody else says piss off.
Mate, you call yourself a journalist. Piss off. Next question, Craig.
Sorry.
That was my nephew, Nick Kyrgios.
Yeah, right.
He's a nice Greek boy.
Right. Nicky from Australia.
Nico. Hey, we were talking about serves. I am absolutely amazed that somebody with the legs of Elena Dementieva had trouble coming out of a squat.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's one of those things that only coaches see, because in the gym, she is clearly able to come out.
Well, we actually told her on the practice court, and she looked at us like, what? She wasn't querying it. She was just in shock because she hadn't heard it before. And I said, yeah, let's go upstairs to the classroom we have. We used to have this, at the Lauderdale Tennis Club, you've got the clubhouse there, and upstairs we had this classroom, and all the kids would be sitting in there doing their schoolwork and all that, and in walks Dementieva, and we'd sit down and take a look at Dartfish, and I'd be like, yeah, look, you're squatting.
Yeah.
She's like, and she'd sit here, and these eyes would just about pop out of her head, and she'd be like, shit, you guys are right. Look at that.
Amazing the use of video. I am a fan of a podcast and a book by Tim Ferriss, and he is so big on how many golf and tennis lessons they don't use video in. And I thought, it's pretty crazy. I mean, sometimes the client doesn't want to see it, but it is amazing how much results you can get with a little bit of that visual feedback.
Well, the video doesn't lie, does it? I mean, it's confirmation, so it's...
That's great. Well, in set 2 here, we like to talk about your current projects and your future projects. You've worked with players going to the Olympics, Wimbledon, Miami Open, all the slams, the AO, the U.S. Open, of course, Roland Garros. Tell us a little bit about how you got into that level of coaching, and perhaps you can also talk about how people can get a hold of you now that you've started kind of a new thing in this part of Texas.
Well, I think February of 2020, I was at a national tournament in Alabama. Like, when COVID happened, I mean, I think we all had to adapt our business models, somewhat. And mine went from being on the tour, coaching, to basically being like, well, look, I guess there's no WTA tour, there's no ITF tour happening now. So, at that time, I was actually based in South Florida, and I've been there for a long time, and just before I moved to Dallas, I was there, and I said to myself, you know what, tennis is changing now. COVID has changed things, and I'm going to have to look at coaching juniors and doing my own thing. So I put together a small program. I had about 4 girls. They were all good. Probably 3 of them were all the same level of player, and it was great. I mean, I loved it, and I took one of them to a national tournament in Alabama. I think it was in March of 2020. It's a spring national championship in Mobile, and while I was there, I was in my hotel room, and I got this Facebook message from a good friend who works for Tennis Australia, Nicole Pratt, and Pratty. She just wrote me a message and she said, hey, mate, I hope things are going well. We've got 2 girls from Australia that are looking to come over to play some WTA tournaments. They plan on leaving for Australia and starting at the Miami Open in, March. Would you be interested in doing some work with them, for a few weeks? And one was obviously Storm Sanders and the other was Ellen Perez. And, so I went down there to coach both of them, and, Storm, had just, she was just playing great at that time. She had a win at the Miami 1000 Masters, and we got along great, and, we hit things off well, and there was a good connection there, and so we continued our work. Actually, I had both of them. We did 2 weeks in Miami, then we went to 2 tournaments in Charleston, the Volvo Open. Then there was a 250 WTA the week after, and in Miami, Storm asked me if I'd be able to take her to Europe and do, the French Open and the grass court season and all that. And so I said, yeah, I mean, I think it's for me, it was a good project. And to be honest, I mean, she did surprise me. I mean, when they both came over to me, they were ranked around 290 in the world, and Storm was just about done playing singles. I mean, she just had so many injuries and all that. And she said to me, look, my goal is to be a top 40 player in doubles and get as high as I can in singles, but doubles is the priority. So after Charleston, things changed a little bit. She said to me, you know what, I think I can play singles at a high level. And I'm like, of course you can. I mean, I've been trying to tell you about for the past few weeks. So Storm and I kept going on together. Obviously, Ellen had made other coaching arrangements for Europe before we met down in Miami. So I coached Storm, and, she qualified at the French Open in singles, which was the first, time of qualifying for a Grand Slam for her. Then we went to Wimbledon, and we went to Nottingham. She made a couple of WTA dubs finals, had some good wins in singles. Actually played Emma Raducanu in singles. Yeah, she played her first round of the Nottingham 100K tournament, and lost that match. It was close and had some chances, and I was a bit pissed off. I mean, I thought it was a bit of a bad loss, but, it turned out to be an okay loss. But hindsight's a wonderful thing, huh?
It really is, yeah.
Pretty fair player. I've heard she's had a good career.
That's right, Raducanu, a 2-month career, but an amazing career. Yeah. Tom,
certainly has.
Tom, you mentioned Nicole Pratt, and you called her Pratty.
Yeah.
Of course, everybody calls Renee Stubbs Stubbsy. Do we call you Downsy or Tombo? What's the Australian nickname for you?
They've called me all sorts of things, mate. They've called me Wombat, Downsy, Tommy, TD, Tommy D, Tassie Tom, Tasmanian Devil, Tassie Tiger. I mean,
Tommy D sounds very American. I'm going with that.
Right.
Yeah, but I like Downsy. That's a cool name.
The Americans have called me Tommy D. Most of the Aussies call me Downsy.
I thought so.
Wombat or something along those lines. But it's.
Have you ever seen a Tasmanian Devil?
I've seen a Tasmanian Devil many times, but unfortunately the Tasmanian tiger is extinct, or so I've been told it is, and haven't seen one. But,
it is, wow.
Well, especially after you have a Foster's beer. You'll see a Tasmanian Devil or two, right? It's such bad beer that it'll make you see anything. Won't it?
Nobody drinks a Foster's. Yeah.
Had to throw that in there.
That's funny.
All right.
That's funny. Hey, let's talk a little bit about where you are currently and how people can get a hold of you. We'll be able to put a link up in the description and all that too. But tell us how people get a hold of you, Tom.
Well, I've got my email address, my cell phone number. I like to talk to people directly, so I've got no problems giving out my cell number.
On the phone, yeah.
Yeah. I've got a website which I can send to you guys, or maybe put on a link, or something to this.
What is it right now?
But I'm based in.
What is it right now? And I'll type it because I'm shooting things out.
That's right. He's kind of producing and good to it.
That's why you don't see me all the time. Yeah. I'm doing stuff. So what's your website and all?
It's part of like a website system called Link, LINQ, and if you type in my name, I think you'll find it. I mean, I don't have the exact address.
Yeah, LINQ, and just type in Tom Downs. Okay. That is
got it.
TOM.
And I'm on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. I'm actually on Instagram as Tom Downs 12 with digits 1, 2.
Yeah.
That's my Instagram, probably, a good way to get me as well. I mean, I don't do Twitter, but I've got Facebook.
Yeah. That's great. And, we call this second set current and future projects. Tell us about what's in the future for you. What's in store for Downsy?
Just started with Coco Vanderway, actually.
Yeah. Big name.
Happened a few weeks back, actually, just before Indian Wells. I mean, we decided to give things a shot. Obviously she's at a point in her career, where she wants to work hard and wants to get back up to the top. And, I thought it was an interesting project and a good one. And so, so far so good. And it's early days yet, but it's been good so far.
We can't guarantee that her opponents aren't listening to this, but I do want you to go into what your plans are for such a tall, athletic, temperamental, intense player like Coco Vanderway. Tell us what some of your lesson plans or your overall thing would be for, let's call it a winter training block that you're about to enter into.
Well, I think just a lot of hard work. I mean, hard 2-on-1s, lots of balls hit the right way, really paying attention to details. Obviously, lots of serves, lots of returns. Obviously, this time of the year for all players, it's a critical time to be in the gym and have a good, gym plan in place to get in the best possible shape. Because as the year goes on, I mean, you've got to be able to maintain your fitness, but the off season or pre-season is the best time to get in supreme condition for the upcoming season. So that's we're done. And to get in supreme condition, it's about getting the balance right. You've got to work hard in the gym, but you've also got to work hard on the court because, tennis is such a unique, different sport. People could play, 5 games of Aussie rules football or 5 games of basketball and perhaps not be fit enough to play 3 hard sets of tennis. So.
It's a whole different fitness, tennis.
Absolutely.
Myself, having played college tennis, a tiny bit of pro tennis as well, and boxing at a decent level, completely different deal, going 3-minute rounds in boxing versus going 2 games on a changeover. And sometimes a tennis match is only an hour and a half. Sometimes it's 3.5, 4 hours. You know, it's crazy. Yeah, so you got to be ready. I want to talk a little bit more about Coco, who I think of as a really good server, a really good forehand return. Even her backhand return is good. I see her as very modern, and, you know, one of our personal friends is Craig O'Shaughnessy, your countryman from Australia. He is big on having practice mirror what real competitive tennis is like. And, of course, he's big on how well are you weathering the storm of the first 3 or 4 shots from that player, and how well are you dictating. And he's really big. And it's probably more men's tennis, but a lot of his data supports first strike tennis and women's tennis. I see Coco as unbelievable as a first striker, but I also know that you came from the, look, we're going to hit 1,000 balls in a row, and here's how we're going to do it. Tell us how you reconcile these two styles of learning, coaching, and practicing.
Well, first of all, I mean, if I take 4 different students out to practice and we're going to do sets of 20 balls, you know, if we hit 20 cross-court forehands in a row or 20 cross-court forehands in a specific target area, it doesn't mean that those players I take all play the same brand of tennis. I mean, I could take a counter-puncher out there and we could work on different things doing those 20 balls, and I can take Coco Vanderway or Storm or somebody and do a set of 20 balls as well and work on different things which they need. So, you know, sometimes I think in tennis the problem is, I mean, if we take an aggressive player and we have him hit like a lot of balls, people might think we're trying to make him a counter-puncher or something, and that's not it. I mean, you know, look, I mean, you know, for somebody like Coco, yes, we do patterns, we do serves and first balls, we do returns and first balls. I've never been someone who really counts the rally lengths, but I tend to focus more on executing the game plan efficiently. So I guess if you are a controlled aggression, first strike, all-court tennis player like Coco is, obviously the serve, the first ball, first couple of balls are very important. So, and if she executes those well, I would think most of those points in a match probably are inside 4 shots. So, you know, you have to be, you know, so, you know, and again, look, I mean, I talk about obviously different players can hit 20 balls cross-court with a different purpose, but also the counter-punchers can also practice the serve and the first ball as well, because they can't get behind in the point once the point starts in today's game. So you have to... you know, we can do, you know, the same drills but have a different purpose. We can, like for somebody like, you know, an aggressive tennis player who makes too many errors, we might work on controlled aggression and get them to temper their ground strokes a little bit and have them hit 20 balls in a target area, but it doesn't have to be 20 balls in a row. So there's different ways to get a message across, but doing the same types of drills or similar drills. You know, I don't think that, look, I do like a lot of the stuff that Craig does. You know, it probably is more for the Djokovic's of the world and the higher end of men's tennis. I think the problem is people misunderstand what Craig means, or they don't fully understand, or you know, we see these tennis parents who look for that magic pill out there that look at what the pros do and think that their kid can do that. And it's like, no, it depends on the stage of development, obviously. You know that, I mean, and so... Like I said, I mean, I think the thing which I've always found interesting or tough to get right as a coach is getting the balance right in practice sessions. You know, what do we work on? You know, if we have 2 weeks off from tournaments, we might dedicate the first practice session on, you know, a Monday morning to maybe fine-tuning some technical things. You know, I'm big on progression drills, so then we might progress into, you know, doing some more repetitions, then, you know, some patterns, and then maybe some point situations that include a short ball and a concluding volley, you know, so we progress and evolve and, yeah.
That sounds great. I want to ask a little bit about, off the actual tennis court. Let's talk a little bit about the mentality of the player, but also as the coach, the mentality, your mentality, the differences between coaching WTA players, juniors, girls, boys, men, women. Maybe you can cover that a little bit and see how flexible a teaching methods you've got to display.
Well, I think one of the big things I learned from Harold Solomon is instilling the mentality of a champion in players. Now, obviously, someone like Coco has been a top 10 player, so she is a champion of the sport.
Yes.
And, for her, it's just about, finding ways, to motivate her and making, and being like, well, you're 29, you've got huge weapons, you've got plenty of upside. You can play for another 4 or 5 years if you really want to. You've got to take a look at the Tom Brady's of the world and be like, he's played for a long time, and so can, and so can she. With the kids, I tend to talk more about, problem solving and finding ways to be successful and making adjustments and making sure they don't add to the problem and they solve the problem. And and I want them to, have big goals and dream bigger. So I think most of the time, we, for example, we might coach kids in Dallas or Edmond, Oklahoma, or Brisbane or whatever, and kids can't often see outside of their city bubble. It's like they have their rivalries, in Dallas or whichever part of the world it is. But it's like, there's so much more tennis out there. Let's dream bigger. Let's have big goals. Let's see if we can go to Stanford instead of just settling to go to a small D1 school. Let's think outside the box a little bit. And why not?
Is that one of the methods you use to help somebody solve a problem like, hey, I'm good against that kind of player, but I struggle with that kind, or I play so well except when I'm friends with that player? How do you deal with some of that, or is this big picture of getting out of your bubble your way to deal with it? How do you handle it?
Well, I try and give them different ways to ease the pressure, if you like. If they're playing against a close friend, I say, they've got 2 arms, 2 legs, a forehand, a backhand, a serve. It's just another tennis player. And once the match is finished, you go back to being friends. Or if they're pissed off, in a couple of days' time, you guys will be friends again. I always try and put a positive spin on a situation because the thing which I want players to always be able to do is to have that feeling and that confidence that they can run through brick walls.
Tremendous.
If they put the work in and if they believe enough and if I pull them along and believe in them enough and give them that, extra whatever percentage it is of confidence instilled in them, well, I'd like to think that they can at least improve a lot and get some big wins and progress.
We have talked strategy, tactics, technique, mentality. Our last question before we go third set is equipment. What do you see Coco using? This is a not slight, strong, on the tall side woman. Does she use a heavyish racket? I'm asking partially because I think she uses the same racket that Craig does.
I think so. I think you're right.
What are you doing with the equipment, and how does that match the kind of tennis Coco Vandy's trying to play?
Well, Coco's obviously, she's 29. She's had a ton of experience. She's not somebody who's super picky about equipment or anything.
Really?
She loves the Yonex racket she's got. She's happy with the strings and all that. She likes a fresh set of strings each match when the new balls come out. So that's always something she's done. But no, I think it's different for each player. I think the big thing about tennis, when it comes to equipment or just in general about any facet of tennis is it's such an individualized, personal thing. Different things work for different people, and as coaches, we have to accept that, obviously, and sometimes that can be hard. Sometimes we see the obvious, but we have to go about things in a way that, we can get the player on board as well. But, I've had some players that are super picky about strings and how heavy rackets are. And look, I do personally think that equipment does make a big difference, but like anything else, whether it's stats or equipment or whatever it is. I mean, you can't be too fixated on that one thing.
I like that resilience and mental strength, that you don't fixate and go nuts about one little thing. You mentioned Tom Brady. I think of him as that way. I realize he's had some trouble with, I wanted the balls slightly deflated or this and that. So maybe he's an equipment geek. I just don't know. But the way that guy approaches life and food and, he's so stoic and so resilient.
Always trying to get an edge, right? Always trying to get better.
Always.
He's going to be on the all ice cream diet, isn't he? I heard he's going to that. He's trying to gain some weight and trying to look a little hefty, trying to be a lineman for the Buccaneers.
I think
he'd probably still win.
They'd probably still do okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, I had one bone to pick for you, just real quick.
Oh, yes.
Yes. I saw a picture of you in a Steelers uniform.
Oh, Pittsburgh.
You live in Dallas, mate. That's fighting words around here.
Funny.
You talk about rivalries. That's one of the most heated rivalries.
Pittsburgh and Dallas.
Oh, yeah. That was big back in the 70s. Yeah.
I loved the times that Pittsburgh had 5 Super Bowls and Dallas had 5.
Right.
It's now 6.
I'm going to get him a Dallas Cowboys jersey.
There we go. Or at least a gray hoodie like the coach would wear.
Right, and maybe a cowboy hat.
There we go.
Are you up for that?
That's America's team, right?
There we go.
Right,
there you go. Now you're talking our
Actually,
language.
I think what we're going to send him is a blue-gray at the net hat.
At the net hat.
Because it's the Cowboys colors with a little bit of yellow, so he'll remember the Pittsburgh days. But I think he'll rock that well.
He needs to forget those days.
Yeah.
Totally wipe those away. No Steelers.
That's funny.
We aren't Steelers fans. But anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, no, I'm glad you did. And Craig, this is the time to transition. I want you to tell us, are there any questions from the field that we haven't already asked? And number 2, who are we rolling with into the third set here, sponsor-wise?
We've had a lot of banner going on the feed here, but nothing really at this point. I think we've asked
similar to things we've already gone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I had and actually one legitimate question here, just real quick before we go third set. So, are you a believer of practicing the player's strengths and improving that, or more? Let's make our weaknesses, kind of bring them up a little bit. What's your philosophy on coaching? Do you make Coco serve better? Do you make Coco's what do you? I'm just saying Coco Vandeweghe because I know she's got a really good serve. So did you work more with her serve and go, okay, we're going to make this thing really returnable, or do you say, okay, I'm happy with that, it's a 9, let's bring that backhand up, this movement up, this volley, maybe that's a 6, let's move it up to an 8. Kind of what's your thoughts on the coaching criteria that you use, not necessarily with Coco, but just anybody?
Well, you want to improve the strengths and improve the weaknesses as well. You certainly cannot just work on all weaknesses. I mean, I learned with Sam Stoser, actually, like we used to. I mean, obviously, Sam's backhand's a glaring weakness, always has been, especially in comparison to her forehand and serve and all that. But I probably worked on her backhand too much, and I worked on her cross-court backhand too much. And when I worked out that the best way to do it was to take a leaf out of the Andy Roddick and Carlos Moya book, which was to use the backhand to set the forehand up. When I figured that out, I used to get her to hit more backhands deep through the middle of the court and obviously down the line to set that forehand up. And so actually, in her case, I was able to use a weakness to set the strengths up. But no, I believe in improving strengths and improving the weaknesses as well. The challenge is getting the balance right, because we can all go off on our own tangents, and we have to be careful not to when it comes to improving strengths and weaknesses and all that. Because Sam will actually, she'd actually say to me, she's like, look, if people focus on my backhand too much, it takes the confidence out of me.
Yeah, I was just, wondering, because I've always go back and forth with my own players. Do we try to improve their strengths to a point where they're just, so good that you can't find that weakness, and then kind of work on it to make it acceptable, let's say, as opposed to, okay, I'm really going to work on that weakness and try to bring it up to being, higher caliber than just okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah. I didn't know if are there any of the pro players that you've worked with that really that's all they really wanted to work on is maybe their forehand or their backhand or maybe their serve, or most of them are pretty amenable to amenable. That's really good, and convivial.
Amenable.
Are they convivial?
Well, I found the really good ones always want to work on the weaknesses.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that Stoser didn't. I mean, she just wanted good balance. Obviously, she wanted to work on building points with the serve and the forehand and bettering her strengths as well as improving her weaknesses. And it was probably a 70-30 in terms of, the strengths being the 70% that we worked on, and the 30% was the weakness, which was obviously the backhand and the movement and, backhand volley, stuff like that. But, yeah, I mean, Dementieva obviously wanted to work on the serve. Shahar wanted to work on the serve a lot. We didn't work on the weaknesses the whole time, but they were very open to getting better. And sometimes, we'd also get these good juniors that probably could have played pro tennis, but they finished up going to a good D1 school, which in this world is still a huge win. I mean, it's a great effort. But had they have wanted to work on their weaknesses, they probably could have done a lot better. And sometimes, kids get so comfort zone oriented. It's, and people can blame the coaches for that, but, it's a difficult thing to overcome or change a kid's mindset sometimes. And sometimes, maybe more so the girls, they will look at it like, well, if he wants to work on his weaknesses, is he saying I'm not good? Or, so it's always you sort of have to be careful with how you deliver a message as well, and I think that's a very important thing.
Because the players, do they come to you and say, "Hey, Tom, what do you think my weaknesses are? What do you think my strengths are?" Do people ask you that, or do they ask you to assess their games, or what are they looking for? Kind of. I mean, I've never been a
they just
coach, so I'm interested.
No, they just want your honest assessment. Usually, I told Coco point blank, exactly what I thought had to happen in order for her to get back to where she was. I told, and I think they appreciate the honesty. I told Storm Sanders, I said, look, Storm, I mean, this is what we need to work on. This is what needs to happen if you're going to consistently beat top 50 players. And if you want to get to top 50 or win rounds in Grand Slams or... you obviously have to dream bigger, but besides that, these are the parts of your game that we have to really work on. And obviously, the serve was a big one. And I mean,
we've got a very detailed question. You mentioned Roddick, you mentioned Stozer and Moya. All these players did a great job of using their backhands to set up the forehand. Many, many more, and this is the gist of Rick Eckloff, who's a remarkable student of the game, middle-aged male player who plays a lot of tournaments. He's asking, would it be better to work on being able to run around the backhand and hit off forehands, or simply working on the backhand? Which strategy would you use, not for Moya, Roddick, Stozer, but for, let's say, a middle-aged man? We'll really kind of laser focus, customize this to an average player.
All right. Well, I mean, if you're really fit, or if you're prepared to get, supremely fit or much better, I'd say, look, if you're able to run around your backhands and control points with the forehand, I'll definitely do that. Because, look, I mean, if you can get around backhands and hit forehands, you can freeze the opponent better with the forehand.
Yeah.
And obviously if you can look for ways to get ahead in points, create more angles, it's a more aggressive play to look for and hit more forehands. So, I mean, there's obvious benefits to doing that, and by all means do that,
Yeah, that's. I just wondered what your all's thoughts were, especially since you're on the professional level, because that's always fascinated me. As I try to watch matches sometimes, and I'm not really good at breaking down. I don't think the games. I am fascinated to see people who are on that level like you are, because I see things on TV and I hear things, I'm like, really? It's like, didn't see that, but maybe that is the case. Everybody's got an opinion, but that's why I just wanted to see if what you're thinking about with professional players. I've never really had anybody come to me other than just some amateur players that are nice players, but not on the professional level. So I wondered if that is the case, that they would rather work more on their strengths. Like Coco obviously has a really good serve and a big forehand, which you want to practice that 90% of the time. Go, okay, let's see if I can, make that, really big weapons, and don't worry about my backhand so much, because we know it's not.
I think as long as we get the balance right, and we, like for Coco and most of the pros, typically what I do if we have a training block is But the first few days we'll do 2 practice sessions a day. The morning is mostly ground strokes, lots of ground strokes, lots of hitting and moving, patterns, volleys, some transitioning. Then the afternoon is purely serves and for return of serve. And we do different things with, the serves and the returns. I put them under pressure. We work on things. And so to answer that, yes, we do want to make the serve better. We do want to make the weapons bigger. We do want to, obviously temper the ground strokes a little bit and mix things up a little bit and all that. But yeah, I mean, we want to just, again, we just make sure we get the balances right, and that's my job to make sure that happens.
Awesome.
Knowing that you're from Australia, do you do a lot of kangaroo jumps? We're gonna do some. Let's do some kangaroo jumps right now. That's Harry Hopman training.
That's old school.
That's old school.
Yeah.
That's Mr. Hopman. I think way back in the day.
And I still think that's a great way to train and do stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah, he was awesome. Harry Hopman was loved by a lot of people,
revered.
Not just Australians, but he was a legend all over the world.
For sure.
Yeah.
But are we ready to go third set?
Third set. Okay. Master Systems is the sponsor.
System.
Tell us about it, Craig.
Yes, that would be the great Blair Descaret with Master Systems. Descaret. That's kind of French tonight. I'm working him into being a Frenchman. He's actually not.
That's right.
He's an American as apple pie, but he does have the French last name.
Yeah.
Descaret, right there.
Decouré.
Is that what it is?
Decouré. Decouré. Yeah.
Okay, I can't get that down.
But we just say Descaret in the States.
Oklahoma. We don't get that down very well. But anything that you need resurface-wise, court products, anything, from
basketball,
A to Z.
pickleball, of course, tennis, all kinds of sports, yeah.
All right. So I think he might even be able to go over to Rafa's house and do something for Rafa, wouldn't he? Over in Mallorca?
I would welcome it very much. No, Blair is tremendous. Tom Downs, by the way. I want to explore how to hit more forehands even.
Right.
So I will take your advice, Tom. No, it's going to be good. No, we're going to work hard.
Right. We're going to work hard. I think Tom's going to. Tommy D will work really hard.
I like it.
All right. Okay. Well, all right. You ready to strap on? Third set. Here we go.
Yes.
All right. You ready, Tom? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. You look nervous up there. So.
No, I'm good, mate. I'm good.
Don't be nervous. First band you saw in concert?
Live.
Lies.
Doesn't matter. Wise? Did you say wise?
Lies.
Live
from Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania band,
Cry, songs like that.
Yeah, tremendous.
How'd you know that?
Live. I remember them. Yeah.
Lightning crashes.
Oh, I remember the guy Ed Kowalczyk, a little dark-haired fella. Yeah, amazing singer. Yeah.
AJ pulls these things out of nowhere. I don't know where he comes. I've never heard of that group. What
90s,
do they sing?
Lightning crashes.
That's the big hit for sure.
Really?
The Dolphins Cry. Yeah.
I Alone, I think that was a big hit
Alone's
too.
a big one. Yeah. Good.
Man,
Yeah.
I'm getting old. I feel old. Jeez, where'd you see them? Just out of curiosity, where were they?
Actually, well, they're a big band here in America, but
sure.
I saw them at the Brisbane Entertainment Centre in 2001.
Oh wow! So it was before you came up to the States
Before I
for
came
college.
to the States, yeah.
Okay,
Really?
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, Live.
Never heard of those
Yeah.
guys. I have to Google those guys.
Saw Live.
I thought you might have said like Midnight Oil or.
Yeah, I
actually saw Midnight Oil in Kansas City at a local bar in Kansas City, Missouri. There were
Really?
a bunch of Aussies there, but Peter Garrett was up on stage, just energetic as ever, and
Amazing.
was great.
Wow.
Amazing guy.
Man,
Back in 2002, so just incredible.
Men at Work. Did you ever see Men at Work?
Did not see Men at Work.
He
but,
is a little younger than us.
Well,
so
that's my
I would
area.
love to talk
I've had a
about.
few Vegemite sandwiches, but I haven't seen Men at Work.
I'd love to talk about In Excess, AC/DC, but
he
he is a bit younger than us.
He does come from a land down under.
He does.
I love AC/DC.
Yeah, I
Love
knew you would. Knew you
Really?
would for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. In Excess. Now, In Excess, I like.
In Excess is great.
Yeah, they're an awesome band. As Little River Band. Now,
That's another.
Little River
awesome-
Band's good. Jeez, I'm impressed with you guys.
No, I'm on the old side. Now, I did see the Little River Band with
You did.
Reggie Luttrell at the
Yes.
Oklahoma City University, theater. Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and we went backstage and started talking to him. I couldn't speak Aussie, but Reggie could. And so
I mean,
we had a good time.
most of the Aussies in the middle of this country were at that show, I'm sure.
There's about 3. All right, now if you could hear a band in concert, say, do you like to go to concerts? Are you a concert guy?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
You do.
What band would you like to hear that you maybe not have heard yet?
like to see Matchbox 20.
Okay. Yes, I've heard of them now.
Yeah.
I've heard of that group.
Oh, that's a big hit. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a place you'd like to see them? Maybe like at Red Rocks or someplace over at maybe on the West Coast, East Coast.
Maybe AT&T Stadium, mate.
Right here where the Cowboys play.
That's right. That's a good venue, actually. There's a lot of people who like to go over there to that stadium.
Oh,
We've heard that.
Amazing.
Yeah, there are a lot of people that were disappointed today.
That's right.
In that stadium effort, so I think it's going to be a blue Monday around here, unfortunately. All right, who's your favorite band?
Oh,
Or who's
can I give you several, or has to be one?
No, just who's on your playlist?
I like Fleetwood Mac, Matchbox 20. I like Sting, Pearl Jam. I like a bit of everything. I mean, all the classic rock from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
Love, AC/DC, The Midnight Oil, In Excess, Jimmy Barnes, Cold Chisel, Roxette.
For Shizzle Manizzle? Is that what you said?
Cold Chisel. Cold Chisel.
Oh, that's not Snoop Dogg then, I guess. Okay.
That's classic Aussie rock.
That's great, yeah.
Right. Okay, so now this is the one question I think that talks about personality. All right, so if you're in a band, I don't know, you might have been in a band. I don't know, but we're just
have not.
Okay, so if you would be in a band, where would you be in the lineup? Would you be the lead singer out front? Would you be like rhythm guitar guy? Would you be guitar
bassist,
guy?
drummer, keyboards? What do you think?
Glockenspiel.
I'd probably have to be. I mean, I would like to be the lead singer, but since I'm tone dead, I'd probably have to be the drummer. I think so.
No, I mean this is hypothetical. So if you could sing, would you be like Mick? Would you like to be like Jagger, or would you be?
Yeah, I'd be like a Mick Jagger or someone who gets up on stage and just loves it and just goes nuts and very intense, kind of like a coach, just
like that's how you coach, like Jimmy Barnes would sing.
Yeah, just intense, intense and passionate and bringing the energy and pushing people and just bringing the place alive. Hopefully, I mean
that tells a lot about it. That's why I wanted to know. I think that tells a lot about personality. Most of the people,
for sure, definitely reveals character.
We've had on the podcast that want to be the lead singer. I mean,
68%.
68%.
And I do need to say that 68% of all statistics are made up.
Well, then is it a plus minus 2% also?
Probably,
on the air factor.
I've just been told I can't sing, and I think those people who told me that are probably right. So.
Man, I'm with you. I was 12 when I tested positive for terrible voice. Just lack of bloody talent in music.
Okay.
But
no.
And that was at church.
They told you to stand in back and just lip sync, right?
That was in the shower. Even in the shower, I'm terrible.
Takes all kinds. I'll let you have that visual, Tom, with AJ in the shower singing.
Singing at the mic.
Right. All right.
Shampoo bottle.
All right. Second part of set 3. This is the second set of set 3.
Yep.
All right. First paid gig. Were you a little newspaper boy there in Brisbane, Australia, throwing the Brisbane Times? Or?
Actually, I'll tell you a funny story. I was coached in Brisbane, I was coached during my last year of high school by an Aussie ex-tennis player called Shane Barr. And Shane was 150 in the world as a right-hander. Then, unfortunately, when he was 18, he was 150 in the world, and he got bone chips in his right elbow, and he was a right-handed player. And he was told he couldn't play tennis ever again, and he was devastated. And he made a comeback as a left-hander, and he got to 500 in the world fully left-handed.
Unbelievable.
He played Davis Cup for Hong Kong because his wife's from there playing left-handed, and the family actually had a really good idea, and they've been extremely successful from it. And the idea they had was to take the concept of cold stone from America to Australia, and they called it cold rock. And his family established cold rock, and
so I used
to
ice
get coached by Shane. Plus, he gave me my first job, and I was serving ice cream at Hard Rock. So,
and it's how you develop. It's how you develop the big forearms, right? Banging that ice cream.
Exactly.
Banging the ice cream on the cold rock.
Mixing it all in, and getting the Kit Kats and the M&Ms in there.
So did you? How long did it take before you didn't like ice cream? Did he let you eat free ice cream for like a week, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I don't like it?
Well, I wasn't supposed to, but I had plenty of free ice cream anyway. But he doesn't know that about this day. But 20 years later, I think hopefully he wouldn't care too much. Yeah, I mean, I got free ice cream all the time, and used to go out the back and eat it. And when someone would come back in, I'd throw it in the bin, and when they'd leave, I'd get another one. So.
That's
Cold Stones were really good.
For sure.
I've eaten at a bunch of Cold Stones. I always thought that was fascinating. You get the marble slab, right there, and then they were doing stuff. It looked pretty cool, and it smelled good. And you had so did you make the waffle cones and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, I did. I used to prefer, I was just lucky I didn't get too many picky customers, because I wouldn't like some of those ones, who want too many mix-ins or too many different colours or all this fancy stuff. I mean, I used to like it when people would come in and just want absolute basics, and I was happy when that happened, but,
Favorite movie or TV show? Or kind of both?
I'll take Rocky 1 through 5. I mean, they're all great.
Yeah.
I like, obviously, all sports movies. Rudy's a great movie. I love watching that. I actually like, the Home Alones. Those are great around Christmas time. Always like them. Don't watch that many movies, but the ones I watch are all sports movies, sadly enough. So, yeah.
Are you like a binge watcher? Do you hit the Netflix and kind of watch, all the popular? I mean, I'm thinking of all the Breaking Bads and things. The what was it? The Queen. What was the one that
The Crown?
The Crown.
Yeah.
The Crown. You're right.
Yeah.
Do you watch stuff?
No, I tend to just watch all the sports documentaries that are on, Amazon, and because I'm always fascinated by different success stories. I mean, I like to read about, ways teams became successful, or watch it, and it's just always been fascinating to me. And
hey, speaking of sports documentaries, let's gear it to tennis. Have you seen I forgot the name of it. The Marty Fish documentary that's about his struggle with mental depression.
Health, yeah.
And then the other one I wanted to ask you about is Resurfacing, the Andy Murray documentary. What did you think of those?
I thought they were both incredible. I mean, I got a lot out of both. Obviously, the Marty ones it's mental health is a real thing, and obviously, has hurt, lots of people, unfortunately. And, I'm just glad he's obviously in a much better place now. He's Davis Cup captain. And
Amen.
But I thought, just his story and really having the guts to, have a documentary based on that was just incredible. And obviously Andy Murray, I have so much respect for, so just incredible.
Yeah, that was that one on Marty Fish. I want to peel back just a little bit.
Yes.
To Naomi Osaka. I know that's a person that you worked with. Could you tell that there was something, when you were working with her, that she had that type of? It seems like she's played that card now and said that.
She always kept to herself. I mean, she's very much in her own world.
Right.
It was tough to get anything out of her. Probably. Like I said, when you establish trust, or she would communicate much more. But no, she was always very happy. She was very confident. Sometimes too, I think in coaching, we see a kid who comes off as being confident, perhaps they're tall, good athlete, whatever it might be, and we make assumptions, don't we? We just sort of assume that kid's, confident and believes in themselves and loves themselves, but sometimes that's not the case. And but to answer that question, no, I didn't see that. No.
Yeah, I mean, I was just curious because sometimes people can mask that, and that's and that's definitely people. And then sometimes people get the yips. I mean, good grief, I get the yips sometimes. Right now, I'm getting ready to leave. Right now, I got to go take a potty break. So I got to take a Tsitsi Paws potty break. So for about 5 minutes, if you guys don't mind, we're in the third set because I think Tom won the first 2 sets. So I need to go to the third set.
You go to it. Go.
But interesting, fascinating. I just wanted to peel back there. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. What do you like? What's old Tommy D like? Breakfast, lunch, dinner?
I like dinner.
Dinner, okay. And that leads us into the next question then. So you have a nice Barbie, as they say down under, I think, right there.
Yeah.
And you would invite this large, we call it a soiree in Oklahoma. Soiree and Barbie are the same.
It's very French of you to call it soiree.
It is.
Yeah.
I know. It just came upon me. The people that you might, some dinner guests, we know AJ and I, we'd be invited and probably
absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Right.
20-minute drive up to your place. That's easy.
Absolutely.
Who else?
Come on up.
Who else? And it could be people from back in history, from day one all the way.
Any era.
Any era. I mean, who?
I'd invite the Rocket.
The Rocket.
Rod Laver.
Rod Laver. I'd invite Harry Hopman. Nick Bollettieri, just so we can get a bit of a contrast there of
Sure, that'd be fun.
Coaching styles and academy.
Tommy, I like your style.
From back in the day.
I like your style, Tommy. What are you serving for dinner?
I'll invite Tommy Thompson, obviously a famous coach from the Hopman days.
And then
Jerry Jones, Mark Cuban, Troy Aikman.
Okay, wow, this is a big party.
Dirk Nowitzki, get Michael Jordan there so we can all learn a bit more about competitiveness, I guess.
Wow.
Steffi Graf with Sellers. Justine Hanna was always great to talk to. I'd like her to come too.
What a list, mate. This is great.
Yeah, these are all sports people. Would you be serving Vegemite?
Oh, I don't want to piss them off, so probably not. No.
Do you like Vegemite?
Oh, I do, but I grew up on it. So
I know. I just that stuff. I ask every Aussie that question.
Of course,
because I hate the smell of that stuff, and I can't stand it. I mean, it's like peanut butter and jelly to you all, and it's like, no, it's not.
It's like roast beef and gravy with salt on top. That's probably a good description. With
salt,
of it.
yeah,
it's a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one to power down. Let's put it that way. I've tried to do that several times, but anyway, what are we serving at this Barbie? Yeah, to be some shrimp.
No, we'll have good shrimp, obviously, on the bar because I'm Aussie and, the Americans can take the piss out of me by saying things like shrimp on the barbie and all that.
Prawns on the barbie, maybe.
Yeah, well, that's exactly. It's prawns. It's not shrimp. We'll have good steaks,
right? Good
quality chicken, kebabs, sausages, hamburgers. We'll have everything.
Everything, man. This is a mighty fine soiree there, AJ. Don't
we'll
you
be
think?
there.
We'll be there. What time should we be over tomorrow? We're coming tomorrow.
Monday.
8 p.m.
8 p.m.
Monday, Monday, Bobby at Downsy's house.
Downs location. All right. So this is a U.S. question. It could be an Australian question also, too. This is a two-part question. East Coast, West Coast?
East Coast.
East Coast in the U.S. or East Coast in the Australian continent?
Both.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so obviously you went with your native Brisbane, which is on the east side of the
northeast,
northeast side of the country there. And what part of the U.S. would you want to be in? Because it's a fairly long East Coast, just like.
Well, I've lived in Florida for probably 15 years, so I like Florida. I like Texas.
Your cell phone, I noticed, is still a Florida number.
It's still a Tampa 813 number. Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, so you like more the warmer side of the East Coast, it sounds like, in both Australia and the U.S. Yeah,
I mean, I'm probably not much of I wouldn't like to – I like to visit, obviously, New York City and parts of, the northeast of America. There's no bad places in America. It's a phenomenal country. But if I had my choice of places to live, it's – probably in Florida, Texas, then maybe California. But, I'd take the East Coast and closer to there more than, the West Coast.
Good answer there. Mountains or beach? Are you a mountain guy or a beach guy?
Beach guy.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I figured that might be. Do you like – okay, now here's another – this is kind of an interesting question to go along.
Yeah.
Because you're coming down from the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere. So at Christmas time, are you more of a, Australian kind of warm – Christmas, or are you more like
lights on the palm tree,
yep,
or more of a traditional
white Christmas like we celebrate up here?
No, I like the Florida Christmas and the Australian Christmas, which is the beach and the barbecue outside and the I guess the sunny Christmas, the hot Christmas.
Yeah, Santa Claus with shorts on.
That's right.
But having said that, there's no bad Christmas, right? I mean, it's all good.
It's the best.
Right. Sunrise, sunset. Are you an early morning guy or you're a late night?
I'm an early morning guy. I mean, I like to get up at 5:30 in the morning and get a couple of coffees in me and all that. So, yeah, it's a sunrise.
So do you go to bed early? Are you an early guy or do you not need much?
No, like 11-ish. I mean, I just don't like, long, I need 7 to 8 hours of sleep, if that, 6 is fine as well. I mean, I'm not,
Not picky?
No.
Okay. Sunrise? Oh, actually, I said sunrise. Favorite season, I'm sorry. Favorite season, are you a spring guy, winter guy, fall, summer?
I like summer. I mean, I prefer the heat.
Yeah, I think especially if you live in Florida, you better like it down there because it's pretty much summer all the time down there.
You guys have a brutal summertime too in Dallas. I mean, it's hot.
Yeah, that's why we're in the indoor envilement here.
It's warm and it's long too.
Oh yeah,
it's a solid.
That does look good.
3.5 months over here.
What do you like to do in your spare time, if you have any spare time?
I like working out, watching sports, sports bars, movies. Don't mind, a bit of shopping and all that. I like going to different places, looking at different parts of a city, just.
So have you kind of been around Dallas yet? Have you kind of driven around?
Not as much as I'd like. I mean, I've been to the downtown parts.
Okay.
I've been to Frisco a lot. I mean, I think it's a great area. Mm-hmm. Obviously, been to McKinney, Prosper, Frisco, parts of Dallas, been to the SMU area. I mean, it's all great. I mean, I think Dallas is a great city for.
Tom, we'll take you out and we'll maybe even sample. You mentioned the vinegar-based barbecue of South Kakalaki, but we'll do the Texas style for him.
Yeah, we have some favorites around here.
Yeah.
So we frequent a few of the places around the area. So if you want to, we'll have lunch and we'll give you a chaperone.
Yeah, we got to set them up and get together.
That does sound good.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll make that.
That'll be great.
So I know you said that you like watching sports. So myself, I am a Carlton Blues aficionado. So what would so there we go. So now I know. All right, who'd your family play for, and who's your team?
Well, my uncle played for Richmond, and my dad played, in Tasmania at a high level. My team is Essendon.
Essendon.
The
Bombers, the red and the black.
Yes. Yeah. I've been to the MCG, and I couldn't believe it. I took the tour. I have a buddy in Melbourne who I played college tennis with, and he lives there. And he took me to the tour of the MCG. Man, the first year, that was about 5 years ago, and then I watched a cricket match it was one of those fast ones. What are they?
The one day.
Yeah, the one day.
Yeah.
Fast.
What do I call it?
It's
not test.
It's a 200 bowls or something like that.
50 overs, so 300 balls a team.
Yeah, that's
okay.
it. Yeah, so I've watched a cricket match. I have not seen the Blues in action at the MCG. Man, I know I'm always there in the wrong season.
Yeah, winter.
In January.
Summer for them, winter for us.
Yeah, the grand finals. The last time that we were there is kind of like the last time the Cowboys were in the Super Bowl. So it's been a long, dry
90s for us.
Spell for the Blues. I think the Bombers. You all, if I recall correctly, have won pretty recently within the last 10 years or so. You've all had.
We last won in 2000, so it's been a while, but we've been the most successful team in terms of we call the Super Bowl the premiership.
Yep.
We've won 16 premierships, and Carlton's also won 16, I think. Yeah. So,
wow,
two very successful teams. I think you like them because of the navy blue, right? They're similar to Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas, that could be the color.
I've watched a lot of Aussie football in the early 80s, and Carlton was on a lot on ESPN. And so I watched Stephen Kernahan and the boys from back in the day.
Steve Silvani and Steve Kernahan. Wow.
Yes, I pulled one way
You
back
were
there.
born while he was watching that, I bet.
I had a few
early 80s.
I had a few beverages, let's say. That, they were not Foster's, but we found beverages in Oklahoma City when I was watching Aussie with Phil Lancaster and Reggie and those guys. So they were explaining what was going on. That's actually my favorite sport. So I do like
footy.
Oh yeah, I'm a huge fan. And
hey, you mentioned Melbourne cricket grounds. How do you pronounce MCG in Australian, Daffy?
MCG.
There it is. There it is. That's
MCG.
subtly different from how we say it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we call it the G,
The G.
MCG.
The G.
the
Yeah, the J.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it was great. It was awesome. I mean, I couldn't
What a
believe I was
place.
standing there, and I actually got out on the grass. And I was sitting there.
You
looking around.
touched, you walked
Oh,
on
yeah.
it.
No, they
that's
take
the
in
best.
in the tour. You know, you got to stand there, and I was like,
best.
wow. I mean, I can't imagine.
Well, you've been on the MCG, huh? Well,
Oh yeah, no, it was
Wow.
it was one of the highlights of my life. You know, to be able to see there and go, okay, I'm actually seeing a place that I had. You know,
there's very few Aussies who haven't played professional sport in Australia who've been on the MCG. I mean, most people crave to do that. I mean, that's a...
What an honor.
Well, I looked around and I was like, man, I can't imagine 10,000 or whatever that thing holds. I mean,
Yeah.
it's massive.
It's a big coliseum. Yep.
Yes, and it was a real honor. I was just standing there. I was like, man, this is. I mean, I'd love to have played Aussie football because I like football, American football, and little guys were used in.
You can run. You can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh man, it was.
You don't have to be 300 pounds, 6'4", and full of muscle.
No.
No, but I think American football is the toughest football. I mean, those guys are amazing athletes.
Oh yeah. That's after ninth grade, size mattered, and they didn't need any 5'2", 110-pound running backs in Oklahoma City at my high school. That was not. That's what got me into tennis.
Unbelievable how you went from 5'2" to 5'11" in
About
a few years.
6
yeah.
or 7 years.
That's
it took
crazy.
me, But all right, let's go back to the third set now, and this is the third part of the third set. We're going to kind of work this back into the world of tennis. All right. Now I'm interested. I know you said you're from down under. What was your first tennis racket?
Slazenger, just it was a full-size racket. But there was no red dot or green dot or any of that back when I started. And I always had pretty good hand-eye. And, I picked things up quickly because I played cricket. And so I used a Slazenger. Then I went to the Prince Graphite 2 oversized racket. I used that, and then I switched to the Michael Chang Graphite, which is still my favourite racket of all time. The 28-inch, 110 frame, oversized, obviously, and didn't shank a ball with that racket, so which I shouldn't either. So
I thought you might say the Oliver. You remember? Now
Oliver. That's an obscure.
That's Australian.
Another one is Stellar and Simons. Those are always those weird Australian brands that we hardly had here. Or maybe they were bought by Slazenger, Dunlop, or something.
Right.
Spalding.
That's a popular one here, too, actually.
Yeah, Oliver. I just remember one of the guys on our team was from Australia.
Yeah.
And he brought an Oliver tennis racket, and it was a wood racket. And I was like, Oliver? I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
And then it didn't. I don't think it probably lasted very long, or maybe it was a big company early on, and then it kind of fizzled out. Probably after that, shortly thereafter. So, all right, indoor or outdoor tennis? What do you like?
Outdoor.
Outdoor. Okay. Now, what's your favorite surface? Are you a hard court guy? Are you kind of that composition? Down under. You've got a little bit of that artificial turf with.
I like hard court and grass. I do not like the artificial grass, and I'm glad to see that most of it's gone from Australia.
Yeah.
There's still a few places. I have ventured around. Manly. When I was down at Manly, they had the Manly Tennis Club. They still had that surface, and it was very interesting, to say the least. I mean, I saw it at. Where else did I see it? I saw it at another place as well. We were down there and touring.
Lots of places in Australia have it. I think Japan has lots of those courts as well. So
was that the one that Ken Rosewall, didn't he kind of make that popular down there? Wasn't he the one that was kind of behind the artificial?
He did.
That's what I was thinking there. Okay. Most embarrassing moment in tennis. Have you ever had an embarrassing moment? I've had several, but
well, I was playing a junior tournament once, and against a good friend of mine. We're deep in the third set, and it was a hard match on a tough day on an ant bed, type of clay court, which used to be too popular in Australia. Unfortunately, wasn't the greatest clay surface of all time, and I'd lost a point. I dropped my racket. I picked up the tennis ball and I tried to kick it back to my opponent, and I slipped over and fell on my butt. And, when you're cramping during a match and you're not feeling too good, it's probably not the smartest thing to be doing. And, I lost the match, and there's, probably 50 people standing behind the court who saw it, and they were just laughing at me. And the sad thing was, though, the fall I made wasn't too athletic, and that was disappointing. So
you didn't bounce back up and go,
no, I didn't.
I meant to do that.
I stayed down and felt the old hamstrings feeling in a bit.
Oh, Downsy, I wish we had video of it. Like you say, the camera doesn't lie.
No, it doesn't.
It'd be fun to have a video of that and put it to some funny music like Yakety Sax,
yes.
Benny Hill vibe, something like that.
That'd be funny. Favorite tournament? Now, it might be one of your junior tournaments, or it might be one that you've coached at. What's your favorite?
Wimbledon.
Wimbledon. Really?
I saw that great picture of you and Storm at the center court.
Do you recognize
Tough to beat center court. I mean, doesn't matter how many times you see it or go there or have players that are lucky enough to play on it. I mean, it's still
the cathedral of our sport.
Well, I think we both are in agreement with you.
We love. I get emotional when I hear that song sometimes. Yeah.
Do you really? Yeah.
This is the NBC. When we were young, the NBC Breakfast at Wimbledon theme. So 2 weeks. 2 weeks a year, you hear this 50 times every day. Yeah,
Dickenberg and
Bud Collins. Even later
doesn't
on,
get any better. Two was the best.
The best.
Oh, man, that was always every morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. You have breakfast at Wimbledon.
I mean, in my case, sometimes 11:45 at night. Just that 15-minute highlight package.
Oh man,
yeah.
With Dick Enberg talking about the recap. Yeah. It was fun stuff. Do you like to watch tennis on TV? Or you?
Love it.
Do you
Love
really?
it.
Okay. Do you watch everything? Like some of the smaller tournaments, like on Tennis Channel, to the big ones.
Yeah, I mean, I watch. I watch obviously the current game because I'm always interested in how things are evolving. I'm a student of the game and I love the game, so I'm always interested in what the good commentators are saying about things and looking at things that might be, different or, has anybody got any new tactics playing Djokovic or is Djokovic, serving and bowling a bit more than usual?
And he did that this morning. I mean,
22, right, against Medvedev. Serving and volleyed 22 times, I read. I also like to watch old matches. Like I love watching Connors and Laver and McEnroe and Bjorn Borg and Agassi, Rafter. All the different, generations from the 70s onwards.
Novak, did you?
I just love the sport. So.
Novak, did you know that Tom was going to mention you?
It's an honor. It's a privilege on the court as well as off the court. It's a pleasure to have Tom watch my matches and count how many times I can serve and volley. It's been great.
22. I noticed you said 22.
Yeah, I hope to continue this trend and against Medvedev because I'm not going to win without it. So thank you, Tom. Thank you for noticing.
He's a multi-talented person too.
That was pretty good.
Not
that was impressive.
That's right. Do you have kids, Tom? Or do you have?
Oh, I don't have kids. No.
Okay. Would you want them to play tennis? Would you want them to be competitive or recreational or?
I would like them to for different reasons. One, I think it's it just teaches them so many life lessons and teaches them how to look after themselves and think for themselves and I would like it, obviously, for, the financial side of things. I mean, I think tennis scholarships are great and obviously some pressure off the kids' parents. And, but whichever sport they choose, I want them to follow through and continue to play it. I mean, I'm not into quitting things or anything like that if things get hard or any of that. So,
yeah. Well, yeah, and that's a good answer. We both have kids, and they both play. All of my kids know how to play. I know Josh played at a high level. Adrian's son, and I just for that same reason, I think it's good for critical thinking.
Oh, for sure, problem solving, like Tom said earlier. Yeah.
So Tom, what sport would you really played if it wasn't for tennis?
Yeah, if tennis didn't exist, what would you have stuck with?
Definitely Aussie rules football.
Footy,
The problem I had was, I'm 5'6" on a good day. So, if my hair sticks up a little bit, I'm 5'7" maybe, but that's still short and probably, my uncle was tall. My dad's a little taller than me, but, I don't. I didn't have their kinds of talent. I was good at it, but didn't. It's just so competitive there.
A lot of
it's not like, we don't mean, obviously Australia's a smaller country. I think there's more people in Texas than there is in Australia. But, I just wanted to play a sport where I'd be able to see the rest of the world. And obviously Aussie rules football is predominantly played in Australia. But if it wasn't for tennis, for sure, Aussie rules football.
Yeah.
Tremendous, yeah.
If you wouldn't been involved in sports, what would you be doing right now?
I've been told I'll probably be an okay lawyer, so I'll take that.
What kind of law? What kind of law would you practice? Are you interested in bankruptcy or,
I actually after being a foreigner myself and having to go through, obviously I came over here on a student visa and I've now got a green card that I actually got through work, so probably an immigration lawyer, just based on, just some interest in it and all that.
All right, we're rounding the fourth corner here. So we're rounding it on the left instead of the right, because down there they round the right corner. We're rounding the left.
Even
corner.
the toilet spins the opposite way.
That's the wrong way.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
right. That's right.
Well, and we're driving. Are you used to driving on our side of the road now compared to
your side? Is easier.
Okay, yeah.
Is it?
It's easy just because of the gear stick, being on the right hand side, and for me it is anyway. And I think in America, it's easy driving here so far.
So when you go home, do you find yourself driving on the wrong side every once in a while?
Mate, I'm too scared to try. I haven't tried, to be honest. I go back for the Aussie Open. And I just don't drive. I hate to cause an accident. So.
You just at the Australian Open, you just let Kia handle the driving, right?
I'd be like with Chevy Chase, in that commercial of his where he's driving in Australia and he's driving on the wrong side of the road and causing accidents, and he just keeps on driving. So that's
the one weird thing about Melbourne downtown, and I know you've. And they turn left from the far left lane, and they wait for the light downtown, and then they go across traffic.
Crazy.
I couldn't believe my friend was doing that. I go, Barry, what the hell are you doing? He's like, well, we turn left from way over here. And I go, yeah, but you're going across traffic. He goes, yeah, but you got to watch the stoplight up there. And he goes, when it turns green, then you can go across. And I'm like, wow. I go, okay.
It is definitely different and more complex, and
that was a strange one. Have you seen that? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I certainly do. It's unique. It's not like that in Brisbane. It's more straightforward there, but
but Melbourne,
definitely different.
Melbourne's a great town. I'd love to go to Brisbane. I've been to Sydney. I didn't move up the Gold Coast. I couldn't make it up there, but man, I want to go there because that looks really nice. The Great Barrier Reef.
Oh, it's a great area. Yeah.
And then over to Perth, which would be great.
On the West Coast.
Oh man, yeah, awesome stuff right there. All right, last question. All right. And then we'll let you go. So we've taken almost 2 hours of your time.
That's right.
If you were the commissioner of the great game, and the great game of tennis is entrusted to Tom Downs, little Tommy D, what would you make any changes to the game, or do you like it the way it is? What says you?
I'm a purist, so I love the way the game is now. Wouldn't change anything. I'd promote the game a little more. I'd get it out there a bit more. Because I think half the problem is, it's such a great sport, but how many people who don't play or are not associated with tennis actually understand tennis to some extent? I don't know basketball, too well, but I know the basics of it to the point where I can watch a game and actually enjoy it. I came over here and I didn't know that much about American football, but as the years have gone on, I've been able to pick it up and I do enjoy it. But tennis is, there's just so many things that you have to be good at and so many things that you have to master. And I think if people, understood how tough it really is to be good at it and, how many aspects of the game you have to master, they'd respect it a lot more. So if I was commissioner, I'd find a way to make people understand the game better, promote the game better.
I know CB billed that as the last question, but I'd love to add on a part B if it's possible.
Is there an asterisk?
You had, a little asterisk.
Okay.
You had a nice point about saying you're a purist. I identify with that. You said that you would market it a little bit differently. If I recall, one of your email addresses is something like, is it tennis is cool, something like that?
Yeah, it's my old email address.
Yeah.
I'd like to, I'd like to Like, I think some of the best ambassadors we've had of tennis would be Agassi. You know, I know Federer's great, Rafa's great, Djokovic is great. But to me, for tennis to be bigger in the world, there has to be great American players, right? I mean, I think we know that. You know, we had Sampras and Agassi on Pizza Hut commercials back in the day.
We did.
You know, we had things like that. I mean, Jimmy Connors, John McEnroe, eras of players. We had more personalities back then. I mean, we've got Djokovic now, who's great. And, you know, I think, for every sport to be popular, there's got to be, you know, the good guys, the villains, the bad guys who eventually become the good guys. There's got to be the Nick Kyrgioses who are entertainers. Obviously, we'd love for Nick to try all the time, which would be great because he is great for tennis in many ways. Obviously, young people love to relate to him, and they can, and he's very personable.
Honestly, even some 52-year-olds in this room love to relate to Nick. I love that guy. I just want the results to come back where I thought they would be a year or two ago.
Well, I think we all would. I mean, I think we all agree that he's great for tennis, and we'd love for him to put in the work and, you know, and love the game and just stick around and do his best all the time. And then, hey, I mean, it's, you know.
Hey, he practiced for Wimbledon for 3 weeks. I mean, what more do you want him to do? Come on.
Mate, you'd call yourself a journalist. Piss off. Last question here, mate.
Yeah.
Now, let me follow up with this as we're thinking about this. Do you think the women should play 3 out of 5 or stay with 2 out of 3? I'm just interested because you're
2 out of 3.
Okay. Yeah.
You're primarily coaching WTA players, of course now juniors, but you're a proponent of not expanding it, just 2 out of 3.
I think 2 out of 3 sets would be good. And I also think if we could maybe in Grand Slams, I think we would see more different winners on the men's side if it was 2 out of 3 sets instead of best of 5.
Interesting.
Now, I'm not saying Djokovic wouldn't have, you know, the amount of Grand Slams he has, or Rafa or Federer wouldn't, but I'm saying maybe we'd see a few more winners, you know, a few more different champions.
Right.
Yeah, because a lot of times, you know, guys don't get going. You know, Joker sometimes doesn't really get moving until the 4th or 5th set. I don't know if he does that on purpose.
I feel like he really gets going when he's down. Then he takes the black bag to the restroom.
Right.
Then he comes back and wins.
Right.
And he may not always do that with the 3-set format. He certainly is a all-time great, you know, in the 5. Yeah, for sure.
What do you think about Davis Cup? Just out of curiosity, do you like the new format where they play in a city or two, or do you like?
I actually don't, to be honest. You know, I like the old format better because it's just such a historic, you know, competition. And, you know, I think if we, you know, look, I think we need tennis people making tennis decisions. And when we have a guy who has played high-level soccer making decisions for, you know, tennis players and maybe consulting a few tennis players instead of, you know, people, you know, from our countries who have a rich history in Davis Cup. I mean, I think it's a bit disappointing, and I think that, you know, Davis Cup was great the way that Davis Cup was. And, I mean, the hard thing about it is, as Agassi once said, it's a 3-week deal because every tie takes a week to prepare for, takes a week to play, then takes a week to recover from. And, you know, I know the Fed Cup finals, which is now called the Billie Jean King Cup. I mean, I had a couple of players, you know, from Australia play there, and obviously Coco played for the US.
That's right.
They're done playing that, and they're exhausted from that mentally and emotionally. And that's understandable. But I don't like the new format, no.
Yeah. You and I are on the same page on that particular.
I mean, I think it's great. You know, I used to love the idea of having Australia come to the US and play at, you know, the Longwood Cricket Club.
That was
wherever it is.
That was '99, the 100th year. I was at that. You had
US debut.
Yeah, you had Sand and Stolly. I believe we had Pete playing doubles. You had Leighton Hewitt, who was only about 17.
That was his debut.
Yeah, he was only 17. He had the long,
first Davis Cup.
He had the ponytail, very long hair.
Was the kid played
still
great. Playing?
Patty played. He had if I recall, he had the Reebok pajama shorts on.
Oh, yeah, the surfy looking.
Surf.
Shorts
Yeah.
But no cashy though.
Cashy was already coaching at the time. Yeah.
He was on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Having a Foster's.
Yeah.
Having a Foster's.
Having a VB.
Well, Tom Downs, thank you very much for taking 2 hours, 1 hour and 53 minutes of your time.
Downsy, cheers, mate. That was really fun.
No, we had a great.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It was awesome.
Before
Loved
we go, now tell everybody where they can find you.
That's right. Link, Linq, right? And Tom Downs?
Yeah. Tom Downs 12 is my Instagram. Yeah.
Easy enough, man. And lunch in a week or two, all right?
Yeah.
Oh, sounds awesome.
Yeah, no,
thank you so much, gentlemen.
Well, no, it's been all of our pleasure, both AJ and I. We
for sure.
We knew who you were,
had a good time.
and we considered it a real honor to meet and talk with you, via the Zoom here, and we want to definitely meet you in person and be able to kind of show you around the city.
It's almost a shame that we're Zooming it tonight. We could have just had him. He lives right there.
Yeah, he could have come
he
right
lives
down
straight
the
north of us. Yeah. We'll definitely get together, man.
We'll
you.
Definitely get together soon.
We'll have a Ripper lunch.
A brie?
A brie. We're going South African a little bit.
Yeah, we'll have a barbie and have some.
Thank you.
Have some shrimp. We'll save some shrimp on the barbie for you.
Love it, man.
All right,
Tom. Thanks. Good night, buddy.
Downsy, good night, mate.
Thanks
Thank you
so much for having me.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Have a good night.
Okay.
Thanks, bud.
You too.
See ya.
Bye.
A lot of fun there, AJ.
Sweet guy, great coach. That was really fun for us. Yeah.
Oh man,
it was Ripper.
It's a Ripper.
This is Bonza show, mate.
Right? Not her.
Ripper.
Ripper. So, well, should we cue up?
Cue up James Scott Campbell.
Not James Frank.
Not James Frank.
Okay. Well, I even though I was, I don't know where I got James Scott.
I love it. It's from Jimmy Connors.
I guess so.
It's got to be.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to Season 1, Episode 101 of At the Net Podcast. Join us next week. We'll be talking with pickleball broadcast legend, the Golden Boy,
Scott Golden.
Scott Golden. He's great. He'll be an interesting guest. Old Scotty Golden from Alabama. He's from Alabama.
All right.
Yep. Also join us on Wednesday nights, and sometimes we do something like this on a little shorter version called Instagram, right?
Yeah, it's called Tennis Shorts. We always explore what's in Craig Bell's tennis shorts.
And I say absolutely nothing. So.
Not at all. 2 questions, 2 pockets, 2 legs. We'll get to at least two or three things on Wednesday nights. I always enjoy that show.
And lastly, be sure to like us on Facebook. We're going to be back on Facebook here shortly. Also on YouTube, right where we are. Please subscribe to our page. We'd love to have you. And also be sure to share with your friends. But hopefully that they would like to be netheads just like you are. And all of our other social media outlets, right?
It's true, like Instagram. And by the way, we've just started back into taking musical requests on Instagram. So hit us up, DM us on Instagram also. That is At The Net Talk Show on Instagram. So thank you, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you Wednesday night on Instagram, Sunday night with Scotty Golden, the Golden Boy.
And lastly, that's the tennis news as it
seems to us.
Good night, everybody, from Dallas, Texas.